listening to the Rapport Podcast Network.
The Oklahoma Sooners definitely had a scare against the Houston Cougars. Was it expected? Was it unexpected? What did you like about the game? What did you not like about the game? I think there was a lot more reactions about what we didn't like about that game. It definitely was not an impressive game. Definitely not going to sugarcoat anything today here on Sooner Spotlight. This is our post-game live show, so let's get going. It's a live show. You can drop down in the comments. You can also click on the link in the description to call in live today to talk to me. I want to hear your voice, Sooner Nation. Let's get to it. Let's give our reactions and a recap of the Houston Cougars versus Oklahoma Sooners in Week 2. Welcome in, Sooner Nation, to another episode, a live episode of Sooner Spotlight. Thank you so much for joining so far. If you have joined, if this is your first time joining in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I apologize, I do have a little bit less of a voice. I was not actually at the Oklahoma game. Went with my brother and my father, who are both Nebraska fans. Traveled up to Lincoln, went to go see Nebraska versus Colorado. That was a really fun game, awesome atmosphere. Congrats to Nebraska. That's my second team to root for. It was a rivalry in the household growing up, but yeah, I didn't even really holler at the game that much. It was me trying to talk to my brother and my dad that lost my voice, so that was very difficult. But everybody, we are live, so please jump down in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on the game. Give me what you thought went well, what you think didn't go well, because I think there's a lot more of that, and deservingly so. I think overall, man, it was definitely one of those games that we're walking away from thinking, what the heck happened, and what are we going to have going forward? And it was definitely a rough one. Again, not only am I losing my voice, but I'm also going to try to keep my attention. I do have some coffee in the cup. I might have to take some sips from there. Been trying to sip through that. I was up till maybe 3 or 4 in the morning trying to go back, rewatch the game. Then this morning, got up early, watched it again. So, I wanted to see what was going on. And honestly, if I want to give you my first initial thoughts, really quick thoughts, I didn't think we played bad. That's the crazy thing. And so why the heck was it such a close game? Obviously, I think the defense looked very well. Overall, well-rounded game from the defense. They had that one chunk play for 44 yards to the house. We'll get to that. But overall, I didn't think it was too bad. Want to let you guys know, if you would like to support this show and help us keep on growing, first of all, free and easy way, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when we do go live. I think noon on Sundays is what we're going to stick with our post-game reaction show, and just kind of keep that live on Sunday at noons. Keep that going that way, because that seems to be working just fine. Our pregame show keeps on jumping around, and I think it will keep on jumping around based on game time, and I have gotten some feedback from you guys. If you guys have a specific time you think would work best for you specifically, because I want this to be a show where we talk together. So if you have any suggestions on the pregame show, when to do that, feel free to reach out. Either drop it in the comments, do whatever you got to do. You can drop in the comments, DM me on X. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at @RealJoshMahler. Because I am the real one. I promise I'm not fake. And then you can also email us at SoonerSpotlightPod@gmail.com. So, definitely kind of let me know what you guys think works best, because this is a show where we want to hear from you guys. First, we got a chat popping up already. William, thank you so much for joining in the chat. He says, you got to win. That's what counts. Yeah, absolutely. That is what counts. Ultimately, that's all that really matters going forward. But, and there's definitely some bad things that happened in that game, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to get to it. I'm going to break it down really quarter by quarter. I was sitting there taking my notes and trying to go through, and I'm seeing all of it here. It was a rough game to watch because it was so close. But go back to my preseason preview and what I said. I thought Oklahoma would whoop up on Houston. I'll be honest. I thought we would handle them just like we should, and we should have. But I knew that Willie Fritz was going to give us a little bit of fits somewhere in there. I knew Willie Fritz was going to have his players ready to play against Oklahoma. And guess what? Willie Fritz was going to he's not one of those coaches that's afraid to play Oklahoma. He's played them in the past. He was going to play them if he stayed at Tulane, because we're going to play them next week. So stay tuned for when we talk about that. But, so he comes over to Houston. He still had to play Oklahoma. It's not like he was trying to run away from Oklahoma. He was ready to play Oklahoma. He's one of those coaches, man. He's really good. Jimmy says, you don't think they played bad? They only had 250 yards total offense. That is bad. Yeah, I agree with that. The stat line is terrible. The end result was terrible. But I'm just talking as an overall game. There was a lot of good that came out of that game that I think we need to reflect back on. And that's what I want to do, because I think there's a lot of overreaction. Again, rightfully so. Sooner fans, we should have the highest expectations. We should be saying, let's fire our coach after every, rough spot. So, that's totally fine to have those reactions. I love that. Where I don't love it is where maybe it becomes negative. But let's break it down. Let's start off. We had first quarter. Oklahoma gets a muff punt after a very disappointing 3-and-out. Super disappointing 3-and-out. Lost yardage. Man, and I'll get to why I think Oklahoma did so bad. So stick around, because I want to get to that later on. I don't want to throw that all out there right away, because I think there's some important things to touch on first. First quarter, though, that muff punt, that was questionable to me, because the punt returner didn't act like he touched it, and I would think that he would have known, he would have reacted to it, right? But the commentators did say something along the lines of maybe he thought it was bouncing out of bounds. Yeah, maybe that's the case. I didn't think he touched it. I really didn't. It was confusing. I rewound it, watched that over and over, but we got the ball, and then right after that, Jackson Arnold has a really good dart over to Brennan Thompson for the one-on-one slant over there. One-on-one coverage. I like the little motion that we had to draw guys away and set that one-on-one up. And overall, not the best pass. He probably could have put it on the numbers more, but it was also one of those quick fires. And that's a tough one to try to get right on the guy when he's cutting a slant right across the middle of the field. And Brennan Thompson's a fast dude. A little bit behind him, but it was catchable. He caught it. He got in the end zone. Hey, that's all that matters. We got a touchdown. Got the first points up on the board. That was fun. And then later on, Woody Washington gets a pass interference call, and because, I don't know, that was tough. The defender, the receiver ends up falling. He ends up running into him, trying to make a play on the ball. I didn't like that penalty, but I understand why they threw it, because in real time, I saw it, and I saw a lot of reactions. I was diving through, guys. I wanted to see your guys' reactions to every little thing last night, and I saw reactions to that pass interference call. I didn't like it either, but you have to understand where the refs are and how fast that game is being played in front of the refs' eyes. So, that was one I have to give him. Kenai Walker, I want to give him a shout out. I do believe it was Kenai Walker. I rewatched it and was going back. It might have been Boganovsky, but I don't think it was, because it was so early in the game and he didn't really play much as a young guy. But I believe it was Kenai Walker. He jumps a screenplay early in the game and really heads up play to get back there and stop that play before it got going, and cause their quarterback to have to pull the ball down, and then really good pressure, get the sack, and I believe that was a third down, if memory serves me correctly too. So that was definitely one that I saw as a bright spot. Paying attention in the film room, that is how you are going to win games, especially whenever we get into where we're going in the SEC. This is all building up, guys. This is all building up. These games, we should not have this much of a concern this early in the season. Not against Houston. We shouldn't. It was a bad game, and I'm not disagreeing with any of you on that, but it wasn't as bad as I think some are making it out to be, because there was a lot of good. I think the defense looked really good, and we'll get more to that. Going on, OU's second drive, Jackson really doesn't see Brennan Thompson cutting kind of across towards the middle of the field. Bad communication there, misunderstanding. that's bad stuff that you don't want to see. And I will put that on Jackson Arnold. I don't think that was a good pass. Should have been able to lead him and put that right on him. And we know Jackson Arnold's got good talent, right? And I think Jackson Arnold is going to be just fine still, even from what I saw. And we'll get to some of the nasty plays. That's later on in the game as I'm going down through. We're still in the first quarter, guys. But Billy Bowman, later on, he ends up muffing a punt that could have been worse. You know, and you just have to appreciate the fact that he had a heads up, jumped back on the ball. As soon as you muffed it, you jumped back on the ball. But guys, hey, I say we got some people watching. I want to remind you, jump down in the description real quick. If you want to call into the show, there's a Zoom link down there. You guys can call in. You don't have to have your face shown. And I don't think we will, to my knowledge, I don't think we will show your face. But your audio will come through and I can hear you. We can have a discussion about what we saw, because I want to hear your guys' thoughts. This is a show where I don't want to talk at you guys. I want to talk with you guys. So that's why we do these live shows. So please jump down in the live chat if you don't feel comfortable. Call in if you do feel comfortable talking. Let's talk about it. But with that Billy Bowman punt, that was another thing too. I heard a lot of Peter. For those of you who don't know what that means, and if you've heard that before and thinking like, what are they saying? It's basically a universal term. Get away from the ball. It's bouncing over here. So I don't know why Billy Bowman still tried to retrieve that punt and try to go catch that. It was also, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, I think that one was also one that was kind of a miscommunication, or kind of not really miscommunication, but kind of a confusion where they were lining up to go for it, hurrying up and switching back to put Billy Bowman back there to return the punt. And so maybe he was just still in the swing of trying to, all that confusion. He should have left that alone. That was not a good play at all. And you expect to see more out of Billy. Second quarter, first play of the quarter, Jackson with the perfect pass to Brennan Thompson, 37 yards. Really like that. That was great. We need to see more of that. And what we're not seeing from Brennan Thompson that we really need to see is we need to see Brennan Thompson making those kinds of cuts and getting open downfield. And we used him a lot this game. And I like that. I like that we were trying to get his hands on the ball. There just wasn't a good connection. There wasn't good communication between Jackson Arnold and Brennan Thompson, and I don't know what was wrong there. If you want my honest opinion, I think these guys came in with their heads too high. I really do. I think that they didn't expect Houston's defense, which we talked about. And actually, shout out to Parker Ainsworth for coming on. I might try to get him back on sometime this week just to talk to him about, hey, what were your reactions to that? Because Parker called it. He said 21-24. He felt like it was going to be kind of a dogfight, and all of us kind of laughed at him. I did too. I thought Oklahoma would and should have covered the spread of 30 points. So, yeah, I mean, it was a dogfight, and it shouldn't have been. But you know what? Overall, it was little things like that, just the miscommunication, the lack of chemistry there. We really need Nick Anderson to recover. He wasn't really 100% yet. And from what I hear, he's still running around in practice, and he's still mobile, which is a good sign. But, you know, overall, man, I just we need a guy like him out there that he does have that chemistry. Or even Andrell Anthony, didn't see anything from him. I don't know if he even played. I don't think he played. I'll have to go back and look at that. So please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Andrell Anthony played. So, you know, there's guys like that we need in the game. Of course, with Jalil Farouk and Jaden Gibson out, it hurts to have these guys not 100%. And then on top of that, guys like Brendan Thompson. It didn't even seem like Deion Burks and Jackson Arnold had a good communication between the two. There was the interception downfield, and we'll get to that. But there was just no chemistry between Jackson Arnold and his receivers, and I don't really blame that on Jackson Arnold entirely. There was definitely some that I blame Jackson Arnold, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But second quarter, going through the second quarter a little bit more, we finally saw Jake Roberts, who I mentioned. I said, I don't think Jake Roberts really even touched the field. If he did, he didn't really have his name called in game one, and here in game two, he gets a touchdown. That's a dream come true for that kid. We love to see it as Sooner fans. Love to see him step in there and get that touchdown. That was a really good play call too. Really good play call. Got the defense to bite. pass it over the top. There's good things in this offense. There's good aspects in this offense, and I want to get to some of the bad things later on as well. But the good things, I like what I was seeing overall. Not overall. I like the good things that I'm seeing. Again, guys, I was up till probably 4 a.m. Tried to hurry up and wake up at 6:30 so I could get the game film back in my head. So stick with me. Anyways, going on, we saw Peyton Bowen also muff a punt. I don't know what's going on with that. That baffles me. Peyton Bowen is a really good return man. We saw him have the one good return. What was that, a 20-yard return, something like that? So we know he's capable of it. And look back at his high school film. Peyton Bowen is a good return man. Punt returns, I'm excited to see him get his hands on a few. But we've got to stop that. It's nothing to worry about to carry with us going forward. I don't think we sit here and act like we have these worries about it, because it was just a weird freak game. And honestly, go across all of college football. Auburn losing to Cal at home was really crazy to me. Arkansas keeping it close to Oklahoma State, even though we love to see it as Oklahoma fans, was really crazy to me, going to second overtime. And going around at Notre Dame losing to NIU. There was really crazy games. Bama kept it close with USF for the second season in a row. I thought they would cover the spread, and they didn't. Kentucky losing to South Carolina. South Carolina is not a good team, and Kentucky losing, I believe, at home. There was all kinds of crazy things in college football yesterday, and sometimes there is that weird. It's a superstitious thing. There's that weird week in college football that always happens, where you have these big upsets, and you have teams barely squeeze out of an upset, like Oklahoma did. So I'm not using that as an excuse, but just realize that some things like Peyton Bowen and Billy Bowman both muffing a punt, things like that, I'm not going to hang on to those, because I do think those were just those weird fluky things that happen against a Houston team, and there is no explanation for it. But going on to the third quarter, I know I'm biased, and I'm sure you guys are too. I felt like the Woody Washington interception should have stood. I thought that was a lot of hand fighting between Woody and the receiver, and I didn't like the pass interference call. Personally, I hated it. I thought that was kind of garbage to have called that on him. Because, like I said, it was hand fighting between the receiver and Woody. So, I mean, honestly, I thought that should have stayed. And then the very next play, you had that 44-yard touchdown, just a really good break in coverage, and the quarterback saw it. But still, I mean, it's just a lot of hurrying up and miscommunication again on the defense. That was one bad play, and there was a few others. I think there was also a 23-yard chunk play that we saw. So really 2 chunk plays that we want to cut out. And I'm going to touch back on my expectations for what I set for the team before the game, because I want to kind of look back and see how they performed on those. Not very well. But yeah, I mean, overall, man, it was just a confusing game, because, again, I don't think we looked bad. It was just things like that third down conversion that were bad. And there was, overall, there was so many things that were working really well, and we went away from them. So let me jump over to that. I'm just gonna hit that nail real quick while we're there. I honestly think this all fell down to offensive schemes, the offensive play calls. I didn't like it. We didn't really lean on that run like we should have. We didn't have a runner that was really going well. We had Taylor Tatum come in the game for one play, I believe, and saw a good run from him, and we don't let him return to the game. Javonte Barnes had some big plays, and we didn't keep on feeding him the ball. Gavin Sawchuk didn't really get the ball much, and let's go ahead and touch on him. We have to get Gavin Sawchuk going, and I mentioned that earlier on, and I don't know if I had that. That wasn't an expectation. I think that was an expectation from Gavin Sawchuk, I suppose, and I'm not blaming him, because he's not getting the ball. We're not handing him the ball and saying, "Hey, go do your work, and go do something to kind of get yourself going." And we only give him the ball 4 times. We gave Javonte Barnes the ball 12 times, and the offensive line just seemed like they didn't really block very well for him. And I'll touch on the offensive line here in just a second too. But with Gavin Sawchuk, we have to feed him the ball more. That's going to be our feature back with Javonte Barnes. So we have to have him touching the ball several times, more than 4 times in the game. That was inexcusable, and just overall, only running the ball 28 times. We should have been able to run the ball better, and we should have been able to run the ball 50 times on Houston, and it should have been efficient. This entire play call, the play calling was just horrible for Oklahoma on the offensive side of the ball. I didn't like what I saw. I thought everything seemed vanilla, even in a game that turned out to be a very close game. So you've got to find ways to open up that defense. And I didn't think Seth Luttrell was really trying to open up the defense. We had those couple of deep shots down the field, and I do think Jackson Arnold was to blame for some of those deep shots. And you know what? I'll touch on that interception real quick, just because I do think that interception that Jackson Arnold threw, it was not a good pass overall. It was where it was supposed to have been. But ultimately, I think, and it's on both. It's both on the receiver and quarterback, in my opinion, because Deion Burks did not adjust to that ball. He dropped back as if it was going to come over the top of the defender when it wasn't. And a really good play. Ultimately, I think it was a very good play on the defender to go up and high point the ball and get in front of it. But man, it did not look, it did not look like Jackson Arnold had any kind of chemistry with the receivers. Ultimately it was just terrible. And so, I want to jump into more specifics on overall takeaways, specific players, specific, areas on the field. I want to jump to the chat real quick if we can. Let's throw some of those chats up because I know that chat's going a little bit right now. Okay, we've got Scott V. He says, when you can't get the first downs, you can't get into the game plan. I get that, but I don't think the game plan was really to keep on marching and try to open up this playbook a little bit. It didn't feel that way. It felt like we were trying to run that same game plan as we did against Temple, and Houston was giving us fits. So you've got to change up that. You've got several scripts whenever you go into a game, and this is the script that we want to be able to go into. This is the one that we hope is the game plan. This is kind of our plan B script, and you might even have a plan C script somewhere in there where, you've got several scripts where you fall on those scripts to kind of dive into them, because your main script is we should be able to handle Houston just fine. Their defense is a pretty good defense, okay, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I thought that even last week, looking at what Houston did against UNLV, I thought their defense played pretty well. But you have to be able to run the ball. You have to be able to, go into that second script of, hey, it's not going to plan. Let's switch that up. We've got to get here. And third down efficiency, that was one of my expectations that I set on the team. Horrible. Third down efficiency. We are the worst in all of college football right now. And that's unacceptable. But let's jump on to more chats. We've got Billy on 2005 says, this game was a complete catastrophe. Yeah. Absolutely. I totally think it was. I mean, there was good things to take out of it. Like I said, I think more on the defensive side, and I think we saw some good glimpses of the offense, but why we couldn't keep that going is what's really frustrating to me, and I'm sure to you guys. And I see Jimmy Satterfield jumps back and he says, Luttrell play calling is terrible. I agree. I don't really agree with the way he's calling these plays. And again, kind of going back to that script, change the script up. You've got to change that up because it's got to kind of mesh into what this game gave us. And we just seem to kind of stick with the game one, the plan A script as if we didn't have a backup script if Houston does keep it close. And so ultimately you've got to have a better game plan going into it on offense. And I agree. I think I'm not blaming any of the offensive struggles really on the players much at all. I think, and I'll talk about the offensive line here in a little bit, but I'm really blaming it on that offensive play calling. Seth Luttrell is I think the one to blame. Wes McLaughlin says, from an outsider looking in, O-line is not playing well, causing a young QB to look very uncomfortable. Yeah, I agree. Because let's go ahead and dive into the offensive line since you brought that up, Wes. And I'm glad you did because, that offensive line, I have been the most patient fan with this offensive line. I have defended this offensive line saying we've got guys that are talented enough and it's deep enough and we've got the best offensive line coach in the nation. I have been extremely patient with this offensive line. I'm done being patient with them. This offensive line is bad, and there is just a couple of players, and I've brought that up in the past, that are making it bad, but it's just an overall mesh together, and I get it. The injuries, kind of not being able to get that play time together and get that chemistry going, but it's bad, and there was so many times where they did well, and Jackson Arnold was able to stick in the pocket and find a good connection. Then he gets pressured a couple more times, and he's getting hit and making him uncomfortable, and they block well again, and instead of him just being able to step into that pocket and create a pass downfield, he feels the pressure to be able to roll, having to roll out of the pocket or maybe trying to squeeze through the pocket when he shouldn't. Yeah, this offensive line, I trust in Coach B. I really do, and I'm going to stick to that. But this season, I'm not really sure what to expect from this offensive line. I don't really think that we're going to look good. And Billy he jumps in the chat again. He says Oklahoma's getting destroyed on social media right now, saying Texas is the SEC heir apparent and Oklahoma is a fraud. Yeah, that's going to happen. If you want my best advice, stay off of social media when it comes to the trash talk and stuff, because it's just going to get your blood boiling. If you want my honest opinion, so before yesterday, I felt like Oklahoma's the better team than Texas. Oklahoma is going to be able to beat Texas, and I think better than last year. That's what I've said on this show. Right now, I don't know, and I think this was just a fluke game. Guys, I really do. I think this was a fluke game, but it's only a fluke game because of that offensive line and because of the offensive play calls. So, ultimately, we need those couple of guys that are holding back the progression of this offensive line to be fixed. And as far as what the outside noise is, I don't care. I know what kind of team we have. I know we have a good enough defense to be able to stick it to anyone in the SEC, and I still stay true to that. But this offense is being very concerning after week 2. Week 1, we were able to say, guys, it was a vanilla play call, a vanilla game plan, and we went in there and we won the game. We put up 51 points. We won the game. Relax. And we were able to say that against Temple because it was a vanilla play, vanilla game plan, and we came into it this week with that same vanilla game plan on offense, but we never switched it up. We never said, okay, let's open it up. And so, man, it was really concerning on offense this week. And I think a lot of that maybe premature concerns last week came to fruition this week. And I think this week they showed to be a little more true, definitely a little more true. We have hope that it's going to improve, but I don't know. jnvolleyball.info, he says, OU has a 7-year semi-pro QB sitting on the bench. Jackson Arnold not ready. Jackson Arnold needs more seasoning, another year at least. I'm going to stop you on those kinds of comments. I know who Casey Thompson is. I literally just told you the reason why my voice is hoarse is because I was at the Nebraska game. My family, my dad's side of the family is all Nebraska fans. Casey Thompson, he's had bright, shining moments. He's not a semi-pro QB, if you want to call him that. Casey Thompson, no. If we were going to swap out Jackson Arnold, I would say go with the young guy. Go put Michael Hawkins if you're going to. But stop on the change out the QB, because what did you see from Jackson Arnold specifically outside of that interception? And again, that interception was miscommunication between Jackson Arnold and Deion. Deion should have adjusted to that. I thought that was a beautifully placed ball. Deion did not adjust to the ball properly at all, and the defender did. The defender made the better play. So Jackson was to blame, half blamed to Jackson. Don't throw it there, obviously, but because it was an interception. But Jackson Arnold made very good plays. Jackson Arnold showed you why he is that number one option for QB right now. So I don't like those comments. I'm not calling for the backup QB. That's the easy route to go. Jackson Arnold is doing just fine. If you want to know what it is, then right there, Bill, jumping in. Oklahoma needs to take a long look at this coaching staff. That's what it is. And I wouldn't say the coaching staff. I would say they need to look at the offensive side of the coaching staff and just have a talk. I'm not going to say I want our offensive coordinator fired. I'm not ready to say that. I think Seth Luttrell can be a good offensive coordinator. I just don't think he's game planning and having that backup plan ready. That's what this game felt like. So, ultimately, offensive coordinator is what I think needs to be improved, but I don't think it's changing the coaching, changing the actual coaches is not always the answer. But I like the enthusiasm. Okay, I like it, and I'm totally okay with that. Let's go back. I see Jan Volleyball comes back in. He says, VA making the mistake of hiring his friends. Need a better staff on offense. Yeah, I think you're probably accurate. And VA, are you talking Brent Venables, BV maybe? I'm not sure if maybe that was a maybe a typo or something. Maybe I'm just not catching on because, again, guys, I was up till 4, tried to get up at 6:30. And then Scott, one more comment to jump to. Scott says play calling is probably Mickey Mouse because QB is limited. No, the QB is not limited. I promise you that. And I will stick behind Jackson Arnold the entire season. I know what we have at QB in the back and as backup. Casey Thompson's not there to play as quarterback. It's very evident. He's there to come back home, learn how to be a coach, and he wants to be a coach. That's why he's at Oklahoma. He's not a quarterback. He's there if we have to fall on him, and he knows a lot. He's been around, so he's going to be able to help coach these young guys. That's the only reason he's here. He's not here to play ball. He's not. Michael Hawkins is still young, and you know what? If he was in as much as Jackson Arnold, you would see that he also has similar, if not the same, mistakes that Jackson Arnold has. So, calling for the QB changes, calling for coaches to be fired, way too early for that. What I think needs to be changed is the game plan. You have to have a game plan for if Houston keeps it close to us. Going forward to Tulane. Tulane played pretty good against K-State. Willie Fritz just left Tulane. They're looking pretty good. I'm going to have to dive into Tulane a little more and give you guys more of my thoughts on them. But you have to have a backup plan for if Tulane does punch you in the mouth a little bit. The defense, I like Zach Alley. I think Zach Alley did a really good job yet again. He's been in complete control of this defense, and I love that. And I'm going to break this up, guys. I'm not going to talk about what Brent Venables said in the press conferences and also other coaches in the press conferences afterwards. I'm going to break that up and do that in a separate segment because there's a lot that I saw, that I heard, and that I want to really break that down for you guys. So stay tuned for that. That'll probably come out hopefully tomorrow morning, if not Tuesday morning, depending on what our schedule can be here. But again, if you guys want to call in and talk with me, face-to-face, let's do this thing. You can click that link down in the description. You can call in and chat. You don't have to show your face. I did get confirmation you are not going to have to show your face on the screen. So just call in. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear what your thoughts are on Oklahoma, guys. Very excited getting into it, too. So this is the first time we've had this completely open, and it is still operating, I do believe, so you can click that link down in the description. It's a Zoom link, so you'll be brought in. We'll talk. But going on, let's take away. So Danny Stutzman, awesome job. Loved what I saw from him. I hate that he had to be the man all over the field, but he did a great job. He had 15 total tackles, 12 solo tackles. Did a really good job. He only had 1 tackle for a loss. I loved Danny. I loved what he showed. I loved the energy that he brought. He played outstanding. So shout out to Danny Stutzman. I really didn't want to have to call out starters that we know are going to be good throughout the season. This early in the season, I wanted to be able to call out maybe guys like Peyton Bowen for a great game, or maybe a young guy like maybe Janet Kanik, or even seeing maybe Kobe McKenzie, and be able to call them out and say that they had a good game, but we just didn't perform well on offense. It was a close game. We had these guys. We had Danny Stutzman all over the field. Gavin Sawchuk, I'm going to reiterate on this. We have to use Gavin Sawchuk. we have to give him the ball more than 4 times. We have to, obviously, I think a lot of that stems probably from the offensive line. So there's a couple of players that really need to get it together. And you know what? We even saw Jake Taylor in, and he didn't seem 100%. And you know what? That was his first game this season. So I'm not going to put too much on him. But Jake Taylor, he had some bright spots, but I want to see a little more from him. And we also saw Josh Bates come in. It was good to see him in. I need to see a little bit more rhythm from these guys. They need to have more of that mesh up there on that offensive line. That's a big reason why I think Gavin Sawchuk didn't get the ball very much. Going to Jackson Arnold, again, when he had time to make his reads in the secondary, he was going through 2 or 3 reads and finding guys that were open. He had some really good throws. There was a couple of other times that he really impressed me with how quickly he got it out and got it right to a receiver. You guys are, I think, hanging on to the interception. Again, that was not all Jackson Arnold. He is to blame. He's the one throwing the ball, and it did go to a receiver. And it looked, when you watch it on TV and you just see the initial interception, it looked like it was underthrown. It wasn't. Deion Burks did not make his adjustment to the ball. He almost kind of carried out his route while looking at the ball in the air and didn't really try to come to the ball. That's the receiver's duty. So I thought that was a good pass. Maybe he shouldn't have thrown it there. I think I don't know what all the other options looked like. He did have enough time where maybe he could have gone somewhere else. Maybe he could have found something else. But I think you guys are hanging on to Jackson Arnold throwing the interception. It wasn't a bad interception. It wasn't one of those interceptions that, hey, man, you just threw that into triple coverage. You just missed your receiver. Go back and look. I'm a member. This podcast is a member of the War Report podcast network. They're Auburn guys that are expanding out to SEC. They added me on to try to expand to other SEC teams, and so I don't want to pick on them too much. But go over and look at Auburn's quarterback, Peyton Thorne, and see some of the interceptions he threw yesterday, and tell me that you don't see a difference in the type of interception. That's all I'm saying. Take a step back on get rid of Jackson Arnold because he is the quarterback for Oklahoma right now, okay? It's not going to change, and I don't see it changing the rest of the season. We have to back him up too, because it can't be another Spencer Rattler situation where there's bad play calling. Because look back at Spencer Rattler when he was not playing well, when we were calling for his head, it was bad play calling. Lincoln Riley, I'll call him out. It was bad play calling. It was not Spencer Rattler. You have 2 or 3 wide receivers going downfield against a 5-man secondary. You're not going to be able to find a guy open very easily. So you know what? It's a very similar situation here for Jackson Arnold. Blame the play calling, not the quarterback. Okay, we can be critical of Seth Littrell all you want, and I will back you up on that. I will not back you up on calling out Jackson Arnold. Offensive line, we already touched on that. Got to improve. I'm done trying to say be patient with this offensive line. It has to be better. It has to be better. Defense only allowed 58 yards rushing. I love that. But the tackles for loss, we had 7 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks. Their quarterback played really well. He looked like a veteran quarterback. Donovan Smith, he has the potential to be a good quarterback, and I think we talked about that from coming from Texas Tech. I thought he looked pretty well, and you know what? And coming into it this season, I thought he was going to be one of those quarterbacks that performs really well. So you know what? He is. I'm looking this up right now. He's a senior, yeah. So he is a veteran quarterback. I thought he looked really well, but we ought to be able to disrupt him more, to not let him go 24 for 28. I want to see more pressure back there. We did have the Robert Spears-Jennings, shout out to him. He had a really good interception, jumped the route. So, you know what? I'm looking at this defense. Overall, the defense looked really well. You only allowed 58 yards rushing. That's what we want to see on the interior line. So, really good. And there was a few chunk plays. We mentioned those, that 44-yard touchdown, and then there was a 23-yarder over to Stephon Johnson, I think was his name. So, you know what, we had some chunk plays that we've got to clean up. There was a lot of learning for this defense against this Houston offense. this Houston offense is not that good, but I think they worked on a lot of things. Their offensive line looked much better, and there was a lot that I think they got away with. There was a lot that I think they got away with, but the secondary did have their moments. But I think overall you have to give this one to the defense. Again, leading on that defense, I think they looked good. We're gonna stick with this defense, ride or die with the defense. On to the kicking. We were excited week 1 that we had a kicker that could hit it from 51. I forget what the yardage was on the one that he missed. I think that was somewhere, it had to have been upper 40s, close to 50-yard field goal. So if you guys know what that was, please let me know, because I did not put that in my notes. But he did miss one in the fourth quarter that we would have liked to see go in, just because it would have made that score feel a little bit better, knowing that we just got a field goal through the uprights. But overall takeaways. Let's go to what my expectations were. My expectations were offense, convert on third downs. We didn't do that. Get one running back over 80 yards. Couldn't do that. You didn't even really hand the ball off to very many guys very much. You give it to Javonte Barnes 12 times. Jackson Arnold tried to run the ball, but I don't really want him having to run the ball. You've got to get a running back that's going to be that key feature running back. Third, I have 2 plays, 20-plus through the air. I didn't check back on that, but I think we had that. I know we had one 37-yard reception over to Brendan Thompson. I feel like we had another big 20-plus yard play. So, and I think we upped that to 4. So I don't think we had 4. Didn't meet that expectation. No turnovers. We turned the ball over. It was an interception. Again, 50-50. Jackson Arnold and Deion Burks on that to me. And then no sacks allowed. We allowed, I think, 3 sacks. We've got to protect him because, again, Jackson Arnold is a good quarterback. He has to feel comfortable with this offensive line. And then going on to the defense, I wanted 4 turnovers. We only got 2. 10-plus tackles for loss. I think we only had 7. I was calling for hopefully 5 sacks. I think we only got 2. Man, it sucks when we're not meeting these expectations that I think were very achievable for this defense specifically. And on the offense, again, I think I was being pretty easy on them. But no 20-plus yard plays allowed on the defense. We did allow some 20-plus yard plays. I think 3, if I'm remembering correctly, for sure, that 44-yard touchdown, a big 23-yarder that we talked about. And then no touchdowns. We allowed a touchdown. And again, that was on one that we allowed it, so it goes on the defense. But I still feel like that Woody Washington interception should have been an interception. A lot of hand fighting between the 2 guys. That should have been called an interception and kept there. Let me jump to the chat really quick one more time. I think we got a couple more. Scott comes back and says, Jackson Arnold needs to keep getting experience. He has the tools. He just isn't seeing the field well right now. Yeah, and again, I think the reason why he's not seeing the field well right now, and I think the only reason why we're being critical of him right now, is because that offensive line just isn't keeping him comfortable. That's the big thing. And you know what? We've just got to keep him comfortable. But let's go to Matt says we are done for. Don't overreact. We're not done for. We've got some things we can learn upon. And you know what? I would much rather, have these struggles and still come out and win. They were struggles that I think we can improve on. They were struggles that I think we can fix. And I think this coaching staff should be able to fix them. Any more chats? No? Okay, so you know what? I think overall, my overall takeaway, what I want to see improve, I want to see Brent Venables sit down with Seth Luttrell and tell him what's up. He needs to tell him to get his act together. I just think overall, again, from last week into this week, last week we wrote it off because we won 51-3. This week we had a very close call and only put 16 points up on the board, and the defense did their job for us on offense. So you know what Seth Luttrell has to come in with a better game plan, and you have to be prepared for any team to be able to. When we go and play Maine, and when we have Maine come to Norman later on and later on in the season, I expect us to have a game plan ready for just in case Maine puts up a fight. You have to have that backup game plan, and you have to have several different schemes ready to go in case the one isn't working. And it didn't seem like we had that. It seemed like we had that vanilla offense that wasn't going to do for this game. So we had to change that up. It didn't get changed up. Yeah, I ultimately, man, it was a disappointing game from the offense, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I think overall, what I take away, we didn't look bad as a team as a whole. Again, that offense, that offense. But you know what? If we can keep on leaning on this defense, I think we're going to be just fine. So don't overreact. We're going to be okay if we find ways to keep that going. I see Nate Robinson jumped in the chat. He says, I want to thank you for that t-shirt. Love it. Absolutely, Nate. You were one of the first ones to support the show. And so, you know what, for all of you, keep on supporting the show. Go, share it on social media. If you can tag me on social media, there's not a way to tag us on Facebook. And I'm not sure if that's the way to go. Maybe start up a Facebook group. If we do that, I want to get everyone involved. So guys, let me know what we can do and what we can work on to get a community going. Do you guys want to see a Discord? Do you want to see a Facebook group? Do you want to try to just tag each other, maybe get some kind of group chat going on X, formerly known as Twitter? What do you guys want to see going for a community built? Because I think there's a lot of Oklahoma communities. I've tried reaching out to other community leaders, the admins and stuff, and I want to try to just incorporate this show with them so we have other Sooner fans that are already started. I don't want to compete with other communities, but I want to build something special here with you guys too. So let me know what you guys think, how we should build that. Do you want to start a Discord? Do you want to start a Facebook group? Is there another way that I'm not thinking of? Let me know, and we'll definitely get that going because that's what we want to build here. Now I want to be able to give more away too. So if you guys don't already know, go check out the merch store down in the link in the description. That's the best way to help us out, honestly. Not the best way, I guess. One of the best ways. It's the best way to help us financially to keep on going with this. So you can check out that merch store. We've got stuff like this. This hat. This one just says Sooner Spotlight, but there's also other things. The Boomer Sooner 24. Because it's election season, so why not? You can rock that. We've got Baker planting the flag. We've got horns down, all kinds of stuff. We're going to keep on adding to that merch store as long as we keep on getting some support, because we've got a lot in stock. We want to get this stuff out of stock before we start sending, kind of creating new designs and stuff out there for you guys. But you know what? The score prediction was we ended up moving it to 42-6. We weren't even close. Parker, the Locked On Cougs guy, he was really close with it. He knew that defense was going to be able to do something special. And you know what? I got to give him my hats off to him. Tip of the cap to Parker. Like I said, maybe we'll try to get him back on just to get a quick reaction from him as well, because he called it. He said 21-24, and we made fun of him for it. But he was pretty damn close. So, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Again, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and please comment down below if you're watching this after we're done going live. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next live event. We're going to try to do these things more often. I love to hear the feedback from you guys. I'd love to be able to jump into the chat and see what you guys got going in the chat. And we want to have more call-ins too. We didn't have any today. This was the first time that we had that going up. So next show we're going to work on that and try to get the call-ins going. Again, that's a Zoom link that we use to make it easy on us to be able to see when people are coming in and everything. So we're going to do all of it. So you know what, guys, keep on showing the support. We love you, and we thank you so much for all of it. Again, go follow me over on X, formerly known as Twitter, for all the updates on this show and so much more. You can hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. We are also on Apple Podcast and Spotify, so please go give us a 5-star review over there to help us keep on growing over on the audio platforms. Guys, we thank you so much for all of the love and support we've seen so far. One easy thing that you can do is just share this with a friend. Share it on social media. If you've shared on X, you can tag me in it. I would love to see you guys' support over there as well. So that's all we got. Thank you all so much for joining in. We'll catch you next time.